From non-league football to a £65 million transfer, it's a four-way fight at United for the caretaker role. AFCON's quarterfinals have been locked in, and Erik ten Hag returns to the Eredivisie. This is DMAC Daily. When you think of non-league to Premier League stardom, Jamie Vardy is the obvious name that comes to mind. The fact that he made his Prem debut at 27 and went on to accomplish what he did is still nuts to me. But truth be told, this unorthodox trajectory is becoming increasingly common in England's top flight. I mean, in 2025, we saw David Raya, the former Southport goalkeeper, nominated for the Yashin Trophy. You've also got England internationals like Watkins, Gehi, Bowen, Pope, Henderson, Ramsdale, Byrne, Calvert-Lewin, all former non-league battlers at one point. Alex Scott was literally grinding in the 8th tier before Bristol in the Championship and then Bournemouth, which is eerily similar to that of Premier League rising star Antoine Semenyo's journey. Having had unsuccessful trials in his youth with the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, Millwall, and Crystal Palace, he seriously considered hanging up the boots as a teenager. But thankfully he persevered and eventually went on to secure a pro contract with Bristol before immediately heading out on loan to Bath City, a semi-pro side in the 6th tier at the time. It was in this kind of rugged, no-nonsense environment where he learned all about the physicality of English football. But naturally gifted with immense athleticism, technical ability, and also ambidexterity too, it became very clear that he was destined for bigger things. A 4th tier loan followed, then a 3rd tier stint, before establishing himself as a key first-team player in the Championship with Bristol. That breakthrough campaign saw him recognised as the club's young player of the season. For the next 2 years, that progression continued, being deployed primarily as a number 9 before landing a £10 million transfer to the Premier League with Bournemouth. He only scored once in the top flight to close out the season, but in the following 2.5 years, he has smashed it as a winger. Each year has seen his output increase significantly, going from this promising talent to legit one of the division's real consistent danger men. The sheer power and dribbling skills had always been there with Semenyo, but it's the ruthlessness that has clearly ramped up a notch. His teammate Justin Kluivert fully believes now he's world class, and with a £65 million buyout clause, a major transfer was inevitable. Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool were all seriously interested, but it's Man City in the end who appear to have won the race to his signature. Now, whilst nothing is guaranteed when it comes to how he'll perform in a City shirt, this signing does make sense on paper, because despite City already possessing a host of technically gifted attacking forwards, this team is evidently lacking in explosive wide players, that Doku-esque profile. Pacey wingers Semenyo and Marmoush don't appear to have earned Pep's trust, whereas Semenyo is already Prem proven, approaching his physical peak, and in addition to that, this guy can operate pretty much anywhere in the final third. That kind of versatility makes him a real system-enhancing forward overall. Personally, I rate the transfer, I rate the whole journey. I really do wonder though if that 18-year-old version of Semenyo genuinely envisioned this sort of career unfolding. City's 3rd most expensive transfer ever. Truly a remarkable come up. Staying in Manchester, and we got some updates as to the immediate future of United's next manager. Yesterday, following the news of Amarim's wild sacking, Darren Fletcher, a former Red Devil of 13 years, was temporarily appointed for their upcoming fixture away at Burnley. This seems to be United's go-to approach for easing the initial chaos internally post-sacking. They did it previously with Giggs temporarily, then Solskjaer, Carrick, and also Van Nistelrooy. In fact, according to multiple sources, it appears that United are going to appoint an interim for the remainder of the season, but it's yet to be confirmed who will actually be chosen. Fletcher, the current U18s coach, will now have a trial run, a great opportunity considering their opponents Burnley haven't won a game since October. Plus, club captain Bruno Fernandes is set to return alongside Mason Mount. Interestingly enough, Fletcher could also make history if he were to play his 2 twin sons tomorrow, something that has never occurred in the Premier League previously. But whilst Fletcher's auditioning, there's also several ex-United icons itching to take the reins too. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could be back at the wheel once more. Having held talks, The Athletic are reporting that he is the leading contender to become caretaker manager. The Norwegian previously held the role on an interim basis before being appointed permanently. During this period, he recorded back-to-back top 4 finishes, the only manager to do so post Sir Alex Ferguson, and also reached the Europa League final. Despite eventually being sacked, he's still very well received by the club and of course by the fans. I think he's probably probably the name most fans would prefer on a short-term deal, but the likes of Michael Carrick and Ruud van Nistelrooy are also in contention too. Regardless of who is inevitably chosen, the decision to go for a caretaker only expands the list of potential permanent managers available next season. Right now, the likes of Southgate, Maresca are all available, but Oliver Glasner's contract is set to expire in the summer. He could be considered. It's being reported that Luis Enrique has refused to sign a contract extension with PSG and is eyeing a new challenge. In terms of challenges, they don't come much greater than Man United. Andoni Iraola is another possible option, maybe even Unai Emery, although that seems a little far-fetched in my opinion. One way or another, United have to get it right. They cannot afford another managerial mess up. But United fans, who's your dream appointment, both short and long term? Let me know below. Moving to international football news, and the AFCON quarterfinal stages have been confirmed following today's results. The Ivory Coast with a dominant 3-0 victory over Burkina Faso. Amad Diallo opened the scoring, his third goal of the tournament, also picking up his third Man of the Match award too. Who would have thought that playing him as an actual right winger rather than a right wing back would see the Ivorian naturally shine? He then set up the second goal for Yan Diomande, the new star boy of African football. 19 years old and already one of the Bundesliga's best players. Him and Amad on the flanks is a scary sight. It's great to see this new iteration of the Ivory Coast come to fruition. They've got a great mix of youth and experience. Also, shout out to super sub Bazoumana Touré. The 19-year-old came off the bench last match and scored, and now he's done it again. The goal itself today, though, was genuinely outrageous. Bro morphed into prime Gareth Bale, picking up the ball inside his own box and running the entire length of the pitch before coolly slotting past the keeper. Crazy stuff. Another Bundesliga wonder kid. Exciting times for the Ivory Coast. They're a real contender. Meanwhile, Algeria got it done against the Democratic Republic of Congo, a fiercely competitive matchup. It would go to extra time and look to be headed for penalties, but on the 113th minute, Adil Bublina was subbed in, and 6 minutes later, he'd then pick up the ball on the edge of the box before unleashing a rocket to win the match. 2 games, 2 absolutely insane goals. So now the quarterfinal stages are locked in, and we got 4 banger matchups. Senegal v Mali, Egypt v Ivory Coast, Cameroon face hosts Morocco, and Algeria meet an in-form Nigeria. This isn't the year of the underdog. All the heavy hitters have showed up and are here to win. There really isn't a clear-cut favorite at this stage either. Don't sleep on AFCON. Shifting gears back to club football, and West Ham have suffered another devastating blow in the Premier League, surrendering their lead to lose at home to fellow relegation battlers Nottingham Forest. Espirito Santo unable to get the better of his former club, but more concerningly for the Hammers, the gap from the drop now sits at 7 points. West Ham have now gone 10 games without a win too. It's truly been a horrible campaign. Meanwhile, in the Serie A, Juventus, Roma, and Como all picked up massive wins away from home. Jonathan David with a much-needed goal and assist for the Bianconeri. It's been a very underwhelming start to his Juve career, but today's performance was a much-needed confidence boost. Heading back to English football once again, and Liam Rosinha has officially been appointed Chelsea manager. He won't take the reins for tomorrow's match against Fulham. That will be left to the greatest tactician in Chelsea history, my GOAT Callum McFarlane, with his last dance as Chelsea boss, before Rosinha steps in for an FA Cup tie away at Charlton. No idea what to expect, but the Chelsea circus continues. Speaking of circuses, Celtic have sacked Wilfred Nancy 33 days into his shambolic and short-lived reign. 6 defeats in 8 games, including a cup final and Old Firm humiliation. Perhaps the worst managerial spell in Celtic history. Ironically, they've since gone back to rehire 73-year-old Martin O'Neill. Remember, he was appointed interim manager this season for 8 games. He won 7 before they entrusted in Nancy. Bizarre times all around in Glasgow. And finally, Erik ten Hag has landed a new role. The former Ajax, Manchester United, and Bayer Leverkusen manager has now opted for a new type of challenge at Eredivisie side FC 20, joining not as a manager, but rather as a sporting director. Remember, ten Hag actually spent the bulk of his playing career at this club, and according to the man himself, he's actually supported Twente since he was a kid. So you'd imagine this will be a much more welcoming environment for the controversial Dutchman. Also, being out of the day-to-day spotlight of management might be a good thing for ten Hag right now. His reputation has definitely taken a big hit in the last year or so, especially after that Leverkusen disaster where he lasted just 3 games in charge. Anyways, legends, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. If you stuck around till the end, just know I sincerely appreciate you, and I'll see you same time tomorrow.